Get ready to laugh your socks off. Or not, we don't care. It's a couple of laughs with Carrie Louise, seen on Showtime and Comedy Central. And her husband from The Tonight Show and runner-up on America's Got Talent, Tom Cotter. Buckle up, because this married for too long couple is ready to distract you from reality. Please welcome Carrie Louise and Tom Cotter.
Hey, there he is, Tom Cotter at his best. All righty. Oh my God. I used to hate when you did that with kids. That will be another gripe of the week at some point. But first, this show is a different show. We have a different show for you today. I'm so excited for this. This is our first guest on the cancel culture segment. And our producer, Harry Cotter, is running the show this time. So without further ado, Harry Cotter, come to the stage and tell us all about it.
Hello, everybody. I am very excited for this week's episode. I have been blessed to do my own special segment, and I have a very special guest this week. You've seen him at the Comedy Central regularly in New York City. You've seen him at Aruba Ray's comedy clubs down there, and you have seen him. Oh my God, I'm gonna edit that out.
Okay.
Wild Lights on the Prairie, buddy.
Also, I want to do this. How about we do this?
My own special segment called Canceling. I also thought.
And then Harry, take it away, and I'll do that, and then you'll be ready. Okay. So Harry,
I'm very excited for this week's episode. I've been blessed to do my own special segment called Canceling Cancel Culture, which gives me the chance to interview very famous or well-known comedians, and they're going to be having their chance to share their own opinions on cancel culture, how it's affected them, and how they think it's affected the entertainment industry. This week, we have a very special guest. You've seen him at the Comedy Cellar in New York City a bunch of times. He has Aruba Ray comedy in the country of Aruba, and he is the host of Nights on the Prairie podcast, and most importantly, our dear friend, Ray Ellin.
Ray!
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Most importantly, our friend. He is our friend. He's a family friend.
He is. And I just want to, can I just jump in and say it's actually Wild Nights on the Prairie, but very close.
Oh.
Yeah. So very good.
Nights on the Prairie.
Well, nice.
I had to butcher the podcast. First time hearing about it.
That podcast.
He's a wild guy. That makes sense.
He is a very wild guy.
Yeah, it's Wild Nights on the Prairie is a podcast. I'm a regular at the Comedy Cellar in New York City, and Aruba Ray's Comedy Club in the island of Aruba named the #1 nightlife activity in the country of Aruba. And Carrie and Tom are going to be performing there in February.
That's right.
Yeah.
The 18th and 28th.
Yeah, and that is where our dear friendship started. That was the birthday.
How old were you, Harry? The first time you came down to Aruba with your brothers and your parents?
First time I must have been a freshman in high school. It must have been my first year if I was in high school. Yeah, freshman in high school, I would say. And it was unforgettable. Every time I go back to it.
You were maybe in 8th grade. I think maybe 8th grade, 7th, 8th grade.
Yeah, maybe not even high school yet.
We have we have pictures, and I look back and remember, Ray, I was like, wow, we've been coming for a long time, and you've really gotten to know my kids. And we still haven't called you uncle yet, though. I wonder when that uncle is.
Uncle Ray sounds creepy for some reason.
It's creepy.
We replaced the word uncle with Aruba. It's Aruba Ray.
That's
sad.
Yeah, it's Aruba Ray.
But
it is a little creepy. I think you have something to do with the creepiness, but we won't go there.
But you guys are clearly unbelievable parents because you have produced 3 awesome kids. So pretty impressive.
Thank you very much, Ray.
Well, 2 out of 3. 2 out of 3. Not bad.
Are we going to name which one is the
no?
That's
You're probably looking right at him. I mean,
that's a different podcast.
but
Ray.
Thank you so much for those kind words, and thank you so much for coming on. And the main reason
Let's
about this segment is, like I said, to raise awareness about cancel culture and for fellow stand-up comedians like you three, and kind of give you guys a safe place to share your opinions and everything, and any other stories you guys have. So like back in the day, right? You guys were able to say anything you want. I mean, maybe when you guys were starting out, it was kind of getting into that point, but as times has changed and as a society, we've started to become more and more offended and more caring more about of our own emotions. And that's good in some ways. It has been good. I mean, there's obviously some bad things that shouldn't be said anymore. But however, a lot of people thought that the entertainment industry and stand-up comedy couldn't be touched and shouldn't be touched. And it was like that for a little bit. And then we got more and more soft. And as time went on, it just got worse and worse. And comedians all around the globe are becoming canceled for things they say now or things they said even way back then when it was okay, like old tweets or anything. So, Ray, my first question to you is, what are your thoughts on cancel culture, and how do you think it's been affecting your career or others around you?
Well, I'm not a fan of cancel culture. I don't think that somebody, their livelihood should be wrecked because of one joke maybe they made or a flipping comment. You have to measure people's intentions, if someone clearly is full of hate and is oppressing or suppressing other people, that's one thing. But to make just a joke, jokes are jokes, and a lot of people think that anything that they don't agree with is hate speech and they're triggered and they're, and you always hear things like virtue signaling and gaslighting. And a lot of times people use these terms and don't even know what they're talking about, So, back in the day, there certainly were jokes made about people that were probably not a great idea, for sure. But it's become now where people are either so delicate or so fragile, and often they're expressing outrage because they think they should be outraged. There are people who are, they think they need to speak up for every group on the planet, and often the groups that they're speaking on behalf of aren't offended. So,
right.
they think they have good intentions, but actually they're hurting art and they're hurting artists, and it's very misguided. So
Yeah, South Park does a lot of episodes like that. It just gets the people aren't even offended, and it just blows up, and they think they're
yeah.
saving one group of people when they're not.
Oh my God. I can't tell you how many times on social media I've seen something like that too. I mean, just for a little example, Halloween costumes, dressing up as um, Latino, Mexican taco with the thing. That's become offensive now, and it's a thing. But some dude went around saying, "Do you like my Halloween costume?" And every Hispanic Latino person loved it, and they smiled and they were laughing with him. But every hated, like full of hate person, whatever, like you were just talking about, and it needs to stand up for every group or whatever, was so mad and so like, nah, that's offensive, like da, da, da. So
Yeah, like how could
you're
it be
right. You're
dressing?
completely right.
How could it be dressing up as somebody because you like them and you want to be them and you're dressing up as them, highlighting them? How could that be offensive?
Well, as long as you're not doing anything derogatory to go with it, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
let's say you're
Right.
dressing as
Yeah.
somebody, but you're not behaving in a way to diminish that group,
Mhm.
I will say this: years ago, when I first moved to New York, I went to a costume party. I dressed up as a mailman, and the woman I was dating at the time dressed up as Zorro. And now I was not offended that she was dressed up as a Latin man. I was offended that she actually had a mustache that she put on and refused to take it off. And I didn't enjoy seeing this woman wearing a mustache the entire night. And that effectively ended the relationship right there.
That's a you problem.
That's a me problem. Yes, it is.
Yeah, they
Might
call
be.
what you're talking about, Harry. They call that cultural appropriation.
Yeah.
Where blackface obviously not a good idea. We've seen a lot of people canceled for that. But to your point, we just don't know where the line is. And why is it bad if I put on a sombrero, but I'm a hero if I put on a dress? What if I identify as a Mexican woman? then, how am I culturally appropriating, or am I living my true self? And it's just kind of bizarre right now.
Great point. I agree. And that was the word I was looking for, sombrero. Couldn't think of it, so thanks for that.
I'm here
um,
for it.
but going off on that and all those points, like, do we, for all of you, not Ray alone, but do we think it's getting worse? Do you think it's progressively getting worse and worse over the years, or do you think it's kind of getting better at all, staying the same where we are? What do you guys think?
I think it's getting a little better because I think there has been some pushback and backlash from people who are tired of it, and they're tired of people being so fragile over every little thing. So I'm seeing, there was a period at comedy clubs where I'd have to explain to the audience, so these are jokes, and I don't know if Carrie and Tom remember this, but there was a period where if you just said a certain word, the audience would tighten up. At one point, I remember if a comedian said the word Jesus, audiences would tighten up even before hearing a joke. And then there was, if you said the word gay, people would tighten up before hearing the joke. And I had an experience where I told a story. It was a true story about a family that it was an Indian family that had gone to Disney World. And I don't remember the exact story, but the gist of it was the way I described their clothes combined with like the mouse ears. It was just a very funny image. And after the show, a guy came up to me who was not Indian, and he proceeded to reprimand me for the joke. And the joke, it did very well. But I said to him, I just wanted to just tell him to F off. But I thought, let's have a conversation about this. And I broke down the whole story line by line. And I said, the reason this is funny is because this is a funny image. And this is funny because the men are all wearing tank tops and it's 99-degree weather and the women are covered head to toe in another outfit and another type of outfit, and so on. And he goes, okay, after going over it with you, and he was a lawyer, by the way. He was a civil rights lawyer.
Of course he was.
And, of course he was. And he gave me his card and he goes, I really appreciate you taking the time to go over that. And I see now your point. And if you ever want to go over any other material, you can give me a call. And I was just like, I hope you never come into a comedy club ever again. I don't want to ever talk to you again. It was a surreal experience. And I'm glad I had the conversation with him just to sort of explain to him why this was not offensive. And I thought, well, if I can get a civil rights lawyer to, jump over to my side on this, then I guess I'm in good shape. But
well, that's good that you had. That's good that you had that conversation. Not all the time you have that conversation, and those people leave your show, and then they get on social media and besmirch you, as
besmirch you.
Besmirch you.
Yes.
And there's nothing you can do about it then, and they're not listening. That's the thing, they're not listening. Like I'll be doing something in my act and someone will get up. It's like I said the word black. I'm talking about a black crayon. No one's actually listening sometimes. And sometimes also we use words that are just sounding funny, and that's why we choose these words, because they're funny sounding words. But these words are now becoming you can't say these words anymore. And that's where we have to become creative and think of better, funnier words. But eventually, are we going to not have a dictionary anymore and we can't say any words that are funny? And that's what's difficult for us, I think, as comedians.
Well, I think we've seen that there's a lot of comics out there that we know who really walk the line and have huge, huge fan bases that I think help illustrate that cancel culture is moving back in another direction. You look at Bill Burr, you look at Andrew Schultz, look at Dave Attell. These are brilliant, outstanding comics who sell out, Andrew and Bill and Shane Gillis. They're selling out arenas. It's incredible,
Right. Yeah. And also the latest roast, I thought, was really cutting edge.
Yes, it was the latest. The roast of Tom Brady that had both comics and athletes. So who really, they pushed it, and it was very funny. And there didn't seem to be a lot of backlash. I'm sure somewhere there's backlash, but nothing that I heard of. Nothing that
no one got canceled.
No one
Do
got
it.
canceled from it.
Everybody you just mentioned, though, it goes home every night and sleeps on a mountain of cash. So they can roll the dice and they can be risky. Seinfeld, for example, wrote the op-ed to the New York Times saying he'll never work at a college again because these kids wake up triggered already. And then they come to the show waiting for you to utter that thing that's going to send them into a tizzy. And then they go online and eviscerate you. However, you know, guys like us, Carrie and I, you know, we have 2 kids in college. I can't roll the dice. You know, if I'm doing, I can't take those chances. And a lot of comics can't. So that's kind of where we are right now. But to your earlier point, I do think the pendulum hopefully is swinging back towards normalcy or sanity. And we'll get back to our great nation of freedom of speech at one point.
Tom, is there a bit you do that has ever given you any grief from an audience? Because I've done a million shows with you, but like, do you do the show about the bit about the one about hanging the ISIS flag? Has that ever given you a hard time? Or the one about baby, it's cold outside? Either of those bits ever caused a ripple with the audience?
I don't know how I've avoided the cancel thing so far. Maybe I'm not, you know, significant enough to go after. But the one that I get the most is the joke about I was on an airplane, I was dressed to kill, I had a turban, a beard, exploding sandals, and I kind of deserve that. I get it's risky. They wouldn't let me do that on AGT. It's the only joke they wouldn't let me do. But people get a little uptight about that. They'll come up after the show and say, funny, but that one joke. And that one joke ruined the rest of the show for them. They couldn't get it out of their head. And so, sometimes, obviously, I do a corporate event. That is out. I leave that out now. And there are other pieces of my material, and I'm sure you've done the same, Ray and Kerry, that you say, it's not worth the gamble. I mean, I really like the joke, just not worth it anymore.
Yeah.
And that leads me to my question to anybody. You know, we have to pick and choose what jokes we can take, and we can't use that joke. I mean, do you do that, Ray, with not only your act, but also when you're making a post on any of your platforms, social media platforms? Do you say, after you write it, do you think this is funny, and then you realize, that might be offensive, I got to fix that? And do you actually go back in and fix it, or do you say, screw it, I don't care what people think, I don't care what my audience thinks, if they don't like it, then screw them, just don't be a follower? How do you do that?
Well, that's actually a very good question. When it comes to posts, those I'm more careful with, because you don't know how someone's going to read it. You don't know the tone that's in their head. I've had trouble in relationships by sending a text where it was read completely with the wrong tone. And the same thing can happen with jokes. You know, you just don't know exactly how someone's going to process it. So I try to be a little more careful with that. On stage, you know, you're controlling, you know, the tempo and the rhythm of the joke and your inflection and your tone. So you have a little more leeway that way.
Right.
And then same thing, if somebody transcribed that joke and they just read it off the page, you could theoretically get in hot water, you know? I don't think that my act in general is not so outrageous, you know? I mean, it's just not, but still there's certain things. Look, my persona doesn't work for me to be like an angry, bitter guy, even if I'm feeling it that night. It just it won't work for me. I experimented with that, you know, in my early 20s, and it just wasn't the persona that fit, that it just didn't work for me, you know, whereas it could work really well for other guys who are like really Lewis Black, who's like a, you know, aggressive, you know, political guy. It works for him. It wouldn't work for me, you know? So I don't know if either of you ever explored things like that when you were younger, you know, different viewpoints or different types of material that were maybe more edgy or more political.
Yeah.
Now I back away and I walk. I'm terrified of pissing people off because I'm a white male and white males are evil and everything we utter is evil. So you have to be very careful. Can I interject here and just say that Ray, for all his faults, and there are many, 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 he is one of the best, if not the best host in New York City now, which used to be a badge of honor that Vic Henley held and William Stevenson, and they are no longer with us. We're all headliners. However, it's a special set of skills to be a great host. And that's why I like it when Ray hosts, not just at you know, Aruba Ray's, but at the Comedy Cellar, any other place, because he kind of sets the tone for everybody. And he tells them in a very subtle way, look, you might hear something you're not going to like tonight. Suck it up, deal with it. we're all going to have fun. Put your little petty grievances aside and just come along and laugh with us. And that's a rare trait. And I will deny I ever gave him that compliment if this ever comes up again.
No, he does do a great job with that. Yeah, he really does.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And by the way, I also like to point out, it's great that we have such a diverse panel talking about cultural appropriation and cancel culture.
I love this panel. I love this panel because when you say something that we all agree with, which is sad, we all look like Pez dispensers. The three of us are like this.
Yeah.
Bottle-headed doll.
Anyway, it's good points, so it works. But
I know.
Yeah. To your before point, Ray, when you were asking my dad about the baby's cold outside joke, it's his most famous joke. It blew up. And so that brings to the other previous point where, yes, I do think that we are kind of getting back, Dad, like you said, the pendulum is kind of coming back to the middle. But
hope so.
Let's hope, because I mean, previous years recently, it's just been on a slow decline and you can't say anything now. So, but that was some amazing input. Thank you so much for that, guys. That was awesome.
It gets me mad when I do a post and I realize, it's the funnier word is offensive.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not what someone would say. Like if I was doing a post and what my kid would actually say when I do family group chats, like my kid would actually say this, and I'm like, oh, I can't really say that because it's going to be offensive. And then I get mad that I have to go back and be creative and think of something else that's less funnier, and then just put that out there. And that gets me mad. Does that get you mad, panel? Anybody?
Yeah, it goes back to what I mentioned before. It's like you really the written jokes on social media. You have to be careful of, and people can screenshot it and
right,
be total assholes about it. It's really
even if it's not like a cultural thing. I had to take down a video last week because before the first hurricane, I worked at Governor's last weekend and tickets were still available, but I worked there and I did a little parody to a hurricane. I said, Hurricane Tom's coming and, ground zero is going to be Governor's and I hope I don't blow too hard and stuff like that. And people got offended.
I'm going to kill.
Yeah. And so I yanked it down. I mean, I'm so quick to pull the trigger now and take something down because I'm terrified that I will get canceled and I'll get eviscerated. So
I know, and that gets me mad. As much as I don't want to hurt people's feelings, and it gets that pit in my stomach, and I don't like that feeling at all. But it gets me mad that I have to change something that was really clever and cute and good. I loved that post of the hurricane, but I can see where a lot of times timing has everything to do with it. I get mad too when you get canceled for a tweet you did about your child 10 years before, and then all of a sudden, who's that comedian who couldn't do
Kevin Hart?
Kevin Hart. I was going to bring that up.
And it was about his own son, wasn't it? About his own son.
And from what I understand, I believe he had apologized for it.
He did.
Yes.
A long time before, and I think then when people didn't want him hosting the Oscars, I think he said, I already apologized. I'm not apologizing again. This is old news. And he said, screw it. I'm not hosting the Oscars.
And good for him. And good for him.
Mm-hmm. And
but
that's why
I feel bad.
Yeah. No. And that's why I'm saying you're getting so mad and outraged about this. And this is what the point of the interview is like, share your feelings, let the world see how it's affecting comedians. Like, this is your career. It's your job. Like, you guys do this for a living, and people who go to work on 9 to 5 behind a desk every day, they don't have to worry about saying the wrong thing or to millions of people. So, I mean, you get to worry about like the HR department and stuff like that, but like you guys are worried about every word that comes out of your mouth. And
you want to hear a crazy story about HR department? A buddy of mine who works for a company in LA, he had 2 interns that were in his department. One of them was this really great looking GQ looking guy. And the other one was sort of like a little bit more nerdy, geeky, kind of timid guy. And the good looking guy, when other employees, women would walk by, he'd flirt with them. He'd talk to them. They'd flirt back with him, And then I guess the shyer, more timid, nerdy guy said something to a woman one day, just something pretty tame. And I guess she went to HR. She's like, I don't like the way he looks at me, And meanwhile, the other guy was just totally throwing it out there, shooting a shot with every woman that walked by. But he was like, the really handsome, outgoing jock type guy, and no one minded it. So the other kid got written up.
Yeah, I feel bad for a boy. I have all 3 boys. I feel bad for boys. They're not even going to want to talk to women in the workplace. You can't say you look nice.
Honey, that's because they're gay. But
I'm right here.
I'm canceling you. I'm offended. You just said that about my children.
Harry, I'm sorry we're sabotaging your interview.
No, this is awesome. This is what I wanted. I wanted you guys to talk. But
I'm canceling Tom, and Harry, I'm going to be your wingman.
You're going to be his uncle.
Not needed. All right. Well, anyway, we are
but
well
no,
over.
I do. I feel bad.
Minutes,
This is going into people in the workplace now. I was just talking to somebody in the workplace, a guy, and he's like, we can't say this, this, this. And they're all tamed things that they can't say. You look nice. I like that color on you. Things like that.
My Uber driver the other day. My Uber driver
What?
the other day lost his job. 16 years plus working at this place because a new girl came in and she was like hitting on him or something, and he was married or whatever, and he like didn't like denied her, and then she flipped the story to HR or whatever, and then he got fired.
Wow.
Mom, you got to turn your ringer off. That's gotta go.
My ringer's not going on. There's I don't know what's going on.
Thomas.
Tom.
Mr. Dover.
Harry,
anyway,
hell
we're
hath
gonna
no
have to.
fury like a woman scorned. So that's why that woman did that to him. Women are evil, buddy. Learn that.
We're gonna have to.
It's
well,
okay.
I'm here. We're gonna have to wrap up. Okay, so this has been an awesome interview, Harry. I thought you did a great job. Ray, where can everybody find you? Thanks for being our very first guest.
Yes.
Yay.
Thank you so much
for having
Ray.
me.
Can I answer that? I know you can find him. You can find him at a clinic, and you can find him in rehab.
Right there. It's right there. You can find him right there.
Right there on the bottom. You can find me.
You can
picking up
find him in Aruba.
somewhere.
Aruba from November 19th to April 3rd. It is the #1 nightlife place to visit in Aruba. Go check it out. And from personal experience, multiple times, I can tell you, it is so much fun.
Thank you. Thank you very much,
course.
Harry.
All right, thank you, Ray, for joining us. And,
Thank you, Ray.
A lot of
really
fun.
appreciate it.
Thank
First
you, Raymond.
guest ever on A Couple of Laughs. And
People
Ray
look
and
him
I are
up.
gonna
He's
say
hysterical.
It's
And,
time to say goodnight. Say goodnight, Tom.
Good night, Tom.
Well, folks, that's a wrap. Remember, life is like a comedy show. Sometimes you bomb, sometimes you shine. But you always blame your spouse on how they deliver the punchline. If you need to get in touch with us, email us at info.coupleoflaughs@gmail.com. Thanks for tuning in. Keep laughing, because you never know. That could save your marriage. Good night. See you next time.